You have questions? We have answers. Welcome to the Therapist Question Box with your host, Miss Lindsay Schiss.
Welcome back to another episode of the Therapist Question Box, where we are not afraid of anything, so ask away. Today I have with me Brannon Patrick, partner and therapist at Therapy Utah. And today we are going to be talking about a topic that is pertinent right now, and I feel like really important. And I think a lot of people are feeling that. And the topic is, how can we bring more civility to our conversations about the election? So Brannon, why do you think this topic, I mean, we know why it's timely, but why is it important?
Well, I mean, happy election day, if you're
Happy
listening.
election day,
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and this happens to be a big election day. It's the presidential election.
Right.
I think it's really important to stop and just pause and think about how we're showing up as individuals when it comes to people who have differences than us, and how can we maintain our, I would say, compassion for them, maintain our integrity and not think and do things that we don't want to do, but still be different than them at the same time. I think it's an important thing to think about on a day like today.
For sure. I agree. So let's jump into our listener question and we'll dive into it.
Okay.
With the upcoming election, I'm finding it really hard to have calm, respectful conversations with friends and family who have different political views. I want to share my perspective and hear theirs without it turning into an argument, but it often feels impossible to keep things civil. Do you have any advice for navigating these conversations, especially when emotions run high? So really great question, really timely question. And I think the first thing I would ask you, Brannon, is why do you think conversations about politics feels so personal and often gets so heated?
Well, I think overall the climate that we're in, it shifted in my lifetime. Politics has always been a heated topic, but it's different now. It's like to another level. And I honestly, Lindsay, blame the algorithms a little bit. Did you ever see the social, what's it called?
Dilemma?
Yes, the social dilemma on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
The algorithms are pushing us to the extremes. And it's, you know, as a therapist, we see this all the time with couples where they disagree on something. You know, they get married and then they start disagreeing. And next thing you know, they disagree so much that they start to hate each other. They start to resent each other, and they start to treat each other like they're not even human. And the reality is they're just coming to the situation in the marriage, whatever the situation that's presented to them, with a different perspective than the other person. They have a different reality because they interpret the world differently, and what they're lacking is the skills to actually connect to that perspective of the other person, and they feel like they have to prove that they're right. They have to correct the other person in order to have a relationship with that person. And when you get in that way of thinking, that person almost doesn't become a human. It's easy to justify hatred, defensiveness, disconnection, those type of things with them because they aren't that person. They just are this person who opposes you, right?
Yes.
So
why do you think that like differing perspectives feel so threatening? Like, why is that a problem? Why? What do you think about that?
Well, you said the word there, threatening. If somebody comes to me with a different perspective, I don't need to get defensive. So that's a great question. Why would I get defensive? And it's because I have fear. I have fear about some power or control or something being taken out of my hands and taken away from me. So then I defend. So then it's a lot harder for me to get curious with that person and care about what they think and have compassion for them, because I am threatened. And so I think it really reflects back to us of like, have I done my own work to be able to be grounded enough and at peace enough within myself that the other person, whoever I'm interacting with, has a lot of leeway to have perspective and to be who they are, because I'm okay. I'm okay unto myself. If I'm not, then I'm not going to be a very safe person for very many people, right? Only select few that will agree with me won't threaten me.
Got it. So it sounds like, again, we really need to look at ourselves when it comes to this. Like, what is feeling threatened that is going on inside of me, where these conversations become really heated and uncomfortable? It's really something going on inside of us often, where we can't hold space for another person or have a hard time in those conversations. So here's a question, as I'm thinking actually about an experience I had this week, and I was at the gym. And I think this individual, I think she thought that I maybe had a similar political leaning that, as she did. And I didn't. And she just kind of started down the path, and I sat there and I just listened for a little bit. And usually I really try not to engage, because maybe there's
which most people do. Like,
right.
Politically, they're like, okay,
no, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it started kind of getting a little bit messy in terms of the things she was saying about a certain political party and a certain person. And I just started feeling progressively more uncomfortable. And so I had this moment where I just thought, okay, do I just go along? Do I just go along and not say anything? Or do I say my piece? Do I say I respectfully disagree? What do I say? So I finally just said, I respectfully disagree. And I can see where you're coming from, but I honestly don't feel the same way. To which I thought the response would be, oh, okay, like, this is probably time to shut this down. Clearly, this is not a conversation she wanted to have. That, I'm thinking that's what she's thinking about my response. Right. But it actually just got louder and bigger and more like the things that were coming, and she really just doubled down. And it was interesting because I just had this thought, like, nothing I say matters. This is not a conversation. And I was very clear that this wasn't a conversation. But it was really someone trying to convince me that what she was saying was, in fact, the right way. And, I had this moment after I left, which I felt like I stayed far too long. I needed to probably leave quicker.
Too long.
I actually just found myself just listening. But I didn't feel like I honored myself, because I sat and listened too long, and it was upsetting what was being said. And I just sat because I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable. But in turn, I didn't really honor myself in that conversation.